We were told a story that if you work hard, follow the rules, get an education, stay out of trouble, you'll make it. That story feels broken now because something happened and no one told us. Let's go back. In the 1950s to the 1970s, the average American worker could afford a home, a car, raise a family on one income. Today, that same dream costs more than ever. Housing, healthcare, education, food, everything went up, except wages. You probably feel it. Every single day, your rent is higher, groceries more expensive, car repairs more costly, but your paycheck? Still stuck in 1998.
Because almost all of the wealth is concentrated in the hands of the few. In the year 2015, the U.S. has by far the most unequal distribution of wealth and income of any major developed country on earth, and this inequality is worse today than in any time since 1928. We are moving in exactly the wrong direction. The fact of the matter is that over the past 40 years, we have witnessed an enormous transfer of wealth from the middle class and working families of our country to multimillionaires and billionaires. Now, my Republican colleagues often express their fear about wealth distribution. In fact, that is exactly what has been.
That's not a coincidence. It's design. Let's talk about wealth concentration. In the US, the top 10% of people now control over 75% of the nation's wealth. Meanwhile, the bottom 50%, they barely own 1%. 1%? Half the country. 1%. How did that happen? Let's visualize it. Imagine 100 people in a room. One of them takes 3/4 of the food. The other 99 fight over crumbs. That's America. But it didn't always look like this. Back in the mid-20th century, CEOs earned about 20 times more than their workers. Today, they earn 400 times more. What changed? The rules, the structure, and how fear was used. Let's talk about fear. Now we're going to see how fear conditioning works, how it's used to keep us from asking the hard questions, and why it's so effective at making people stay quiet. Fear. It's one of the most powerful emotions humans experience, and it's also one of the most effective tools of control. We are conditioned by experiences, stories, and social cues. From childhood, we are taught to fear failure.
The intelligent minorities can engineer consent through the use of manipulation, propaganda, and control. And we should do it.
People have got to know whether or not their president's a crook. Well, I'm not a crook.
We are in the midst of a serious financial crisis, and the federal government is responding with decisive action.
I know that the American people share my deep belief that if a danger exists in the world, it is a danger shared by all.
We need to actually double down on the public health measures.
You can't look at that television and say, nothing happened on the 6th.
I'd like for you to answer the question.
Okay, it's very simple to answer.
That's why I asked it.
It's very simple that you're a nasty person, I'll tell you.
Most people have no awareness of how easily our behavior and even our identity can be completely taken over. But people are waking up.
A psychological process where people are trained, usually subconsciously, to respond to fear. Governments, corporations, media have used it masterfully. That's what the system does. It's built to maintain power, not to reward effort. The myth of the hustle tells you if you fail, it's because you didn't try hard enough. If you were poor, it's your fault. This belief traps millions in a cycle of self-blame. Economic fear. Fear of losing your job. Fear of being left behind. fear of looking poor, so you keep working, keep spending, keep chasing an image of success you can't afford. Because if you stopped and asked, is this system actually working for me? The answer might terrify you, and that's the point. Keep people busy, keep them tired, keep them just hopeful enough to stay quiet. But here's the truth. If you're struggling, it's not because you're lazy or not working hard enough. It's because the system is tilted, a rigged game where the rich write the rules and we play blindfolded. But now, the blindfold's slipping. People are asking questions, and that's dangerous to those in power. Let's break this illusion, not with anger, but with facts, data, truth, and clarity. Because once you see it, you can't unsee it. Let's take a closer look at the numbers. Since the 1970s, worker productivity in America has increased by more than 250%. That means you are producing 2.5 times more value than before. Yet, wages have barely budged. In fact, adjusted for inflation, the median worker today earns about the same as they did in 1973. That's a staggering disconnect. What happened to all the extra value? It went somewhere. To the owners, to the shareholders, to the top 1%. From the late 1800s, America's economy grew at a breathtaking pace. Railroads, steel, oil, and later technology transformed the nation. But here's the thing. While the productivity and profits skyrocketed, the benefits didn't flow evenly. For the top 1%, and especially the top 0.1%, incomes multiplied many times over. By the early 1900s, these elites controlled vast fortunes, captured the gains. Meanwhile, the average worker's share shrank. Housing costs have skyrocketed. In many major cities, the price of a one-bedroom apartment has increased by more than 300% in the past 30 years. College tuition has tripled since 1980. Healthcare costs have ballooned, and yet wages remain flat. This means millions of people are forced to work longer hours just to keep up, or take on crushing debt. Consider this. The federal minimum wage in 1968, adjusted for inflation, was over $10 an hour. Today, it's $7.25, which means the minimum wage has lost nearly 30% of its purchasing power. Many states and cities have raised minimum wages to $15 or higher, but even that often isn't enough to cover basic living expenses. Why has this happened? Several key forces are at work. Globalization moved many manufacturing jobs overseas. Union membership declined sharply. This weakened collective bargaining power. Financial markets shifted focus from investing in workers to rewarding shareholders. Corporate profits soared, but workers' wages stagnated.
The problem we're trying to solve is that there are rich teams and there are poor teams. Then there's 50 feet of crap, and then there's us.
We talk a lot about the wealth gap, but sometimes it takes a fresh voice to really make it click. This next clip explains the reality in a way that's impossible to ignore. Let's take a listen.
Actual distribution of wealth in America. The poorest Americans don't even register. They're down to pocket change. And the middle class is barely distinguishable from the poor. In fact, even the rich between the top 10 and 20 percentile are worse off. Only the top 10% are better off. And how much better off? So much better off that the top 2 to 5% are actually off the chart at this scale. And the top 1%, this guy, well, his stack of money stretches 10 times higher than we can show. Here's his stack of cash, restacked, all by itself. This is the top 1% we've been hearing so much about. So much green in his pockets that I have to give him a whole new column of his own, because he won't fit on my chart. 1% of America has 40% of all the nation's wealth. The bottom 80%, 8 out of every 10 people, or 80 out of these 100, only has 7% between them. And this has only gotten worse in the last 20 to 30 years. While the richest 1% take home almost a quarter of the national income today, in 1976, they took home only 9%, meaning their share of income has nearly tripled in the last 30 years. The top 1% own half the country's stocks, bonds, and mutual funds. The bottom 50% of Americans own only 0.5% of these investments, which means they aren't investing. They're just scraping by. I'm sure many of these wealthy people have worked very hard for their money. But do you really believe that the CEO is working 380 times harder than his average employee? Not his lowest paid employee, not the janitor, but the average earner in his company. The average worker needs to work more than a month to earn what the CEO makes in 1 hour. We certainly don't have to go all the way to socialism to find something that is fair for hardworking Americans.
The consequences? The middle class shrinks, economic mobility slows, wealth concentrates, and social inequality grows. This creates a cycle where those born with fewer resources have less chance to get ahead, where opportunity isn't equal, but this isn't inevitable. It's a result of choices, policies, systems built to favor some and exclude others. This is the reality millions live every day, struggling to pay rent, working multiple jobs, trying to save, but falling short, yet told it's their fault. If only they worked harder, if only they budgeted better, if only they sacrificed more. But the real sacrifice is the system itself. It's designed to keep you working, keep you distracted, keep you quiet. But the truth is, most billionaires didn't get rich because they worked harder. They got rich because of access. Access to capital, to connections, to loopholes, to policies designed for them. While you're juggling 3 jobs, they're building empires. Generational wealth, political influence, control.
You don't hear it talked about here at all. But the American people do not believe that it is appropriate that 3 people, 1, 2, 3, Mr. Musk, Mr. Bezos, and Mr. Zuckerberg, 3 Americans own more wealth than the bottom half of American society, 100.
What's the answer? It's not just working harder, it's working smarter and together. History shows us that collective action changes systems. Unions fought for fair wages, civil rights movements challenged injustice, community organizing reshaped cities. We need to revive that spirit, build communities, share resources, lift each other, because individual success can't replace systemic change. The next great movement is about power, shared power. If we want better wages, affordable housing, accessible healthcare, education for all, we have to act together, and awareness is the spark, seeing the system clearly, refusing to accept less. Change isn't easy. It rarely is, but history shows us when enough people awaken, when enough people demand better, systems can shift. Look at the civil rights movement, look at women's suffrage, look at labor unions. All started with awareness, then action. Today, the tools are different. The internet connects us all. Information flows faster. Movements grow worldwide. This moment is unique. We see the cracks in the system like never before, and that's powerful. You are part of this story, whether you know it or not. You don't have to be rich. You don't have to be a leader. You just have to be aware, to share knowledge, to support fairness, to act. Change begins with small steps. Talking openly, supporting fair wages, building community wealth. It grows into big movements. Policy changes, corporate accountability, economic justice. The road is long, but every journey starts with a single step. The system may be rigged, but it's not unbreakable. You're not alone. Millions feel the same. Together, you can rewrite the rules. This isn't just a story about money, it's a story about you, your future, your power. So when you feel stuck, remember this moment. Remember that awareness is the first step, and change, real change, is possible. Knowledge is more than information, it's power. When you understand how money works, how systems are built, how policies affect you, you gain control. Most schools don't teach this. You learn math, history, science, but rarely financial literacy, rarely the truth about wealth inequality, rarely how the economic game is played. So you're left to figure it out on your own, reading books, watching videos, talking to others. This self-education is a revolution because every time you learn, you're one step closer to breaking free. You learn to spot scams, avoid debt traps, invest wisely, build assets. You see that saving money is important, but so is making your money work for you. You discover concepts like passive income, compound interest, diversification, and you realize freedom isn't about how much you earned, but how you manage and grow what you have. This knowledge shifts your mindset from scarcity to abundance, from fear to confidence. And that shift creates new possibilities. You can start a side hustle that scales. You can invest in property. You can build a network. But more importantly, you stop being a victim of the system. You become a player. This is the foundation of true change, not just surviving, but thriving. A hopeful future, reclaiming power together.
We don't even have to achieve what most of us consider might be ideal. All we need to do is wake up and realize that the reality in this country is not at all what we think it is.
You've been watching VRTX. I'm Michael. Thanks for joining me on this journey. Stay curious, and I'll see you in the next episode.